Hey guys, welcome to another episode of Amber Unfiltered. Today, I wanted to talk to you guys about something that is very sensitive. It could be triggering. It could bring up a variety or a host of emotions. I wanted to talk about a book I recently read that as sensitive as the topic matter is, it's very timely. I think it was beautifully written. I think it was eloquently written. I think the voice is so raw. The storytelling is so rich. And I don't know, I need to talk about this book. I know that there's a lot of history surrounding this individual and the person that they're tied to because there's a public figure involved. I know some people still support this person, the public figure. I personally don't, but you can make your own decision. I'm not here to tell you what you can and can't do or what you should and shouldn't do with your life. That's your business. I don't support abusers on my channel. I'm just going to preface the review with that. But I read this book in about a day or so. I bought it on, what was it, February 4th, the day after it came out. It came out February 3rd. And I finished it yesterday. And I was gutted. I could just see how God had covered this woman and how God made her anew. She's like a phoenix rising from the ashes to me. I wanted to talk to you guys about Who's Watching Shorty, which was written by Rashona Landfair. The full title is Who's Watching Shorty? Reclaiming Myself from the Shame of R. Kelly's Abuse. Now, all of us know who R. Kelly is. He's a huge musician. He was very well loved in the Black community. He had his foot on our necks for a long time with his music, which unfortunately kind of was a breadcrumb or a trail of breadcrumbs of the things that he was doing to young Black women, Black girls, and Black boys, unfortunately. But I absolutely adored this book. I don't like the fact that this happened to Rashona. And I had always wondered about her. I was like, where is she? How is she doing? Is she going to ever talk? Is she ever going to come forward? And she doesn't have to, but I always wanted to hear from her. I think that's the biggest thing that I wanted to say. So I'm going to be reviewing her book. I just want to let you know there might be some things that I say that you might not agree with. That's totally okay. We can disagree. We can agree to disagree. I want you guys to have your own opinions, but this is my opinion. Obviously, it's an opinion-based channel. Nothing I say is fact. This is just how I feel. But I want to be very gentle in my review. I don't have any notes. I started to take some and I was like, I think it'll be better to just kind of go off the cuff, but I'm going to try to be very sensitive and very cognizant of what I'm saying. And I might get a little bit heated or cry. I don't know what reaction I'm going to have. I'm just telling you that this could go so many different ways. But I absolutely love this book, despite what happened to this woman. I don't know. First of all, the way it's written is so fucking good. It has this quality to it that is like unputdownable. And I know that's not a word, but it literally is. Like every time I'd be like, okay, I'm just gonna read one more chapter or a couple more pages, I found myself reading 80. It's a relatively short read. It's about 225 pages, 227, 30, something like that. And she has such a raw voice. And she knows exactly who she is. She's standing firm in exactly who she is. And what I like really appreciate it is that she doesn't sugarcoat anything. She's like, this is my part. Like, I don't even want to say she takes accountability because this wasn't her fault, but she takes accountability. She's like, well, maybe I should have moved differently or maybe I should have responded differently. But it's like, no, you were groomed, sweetheart. You responded exactly how your abuser wanted you to respond. And that's not your fault. I've never been in a situation like this. I couldn't imagine being in this situation. And a part of me is kind of like, I'm glad that social media wasn't really a thing at this point, because I could imagine social media taking it and making it incredibly worse. And I know social media is very real and alive, or very alive and well now, in that she still gets people responding to her with vitriol and hate in support of her abuser. But I just couldn't imagine the instance with the tape being on the internet in the sense of the social media sphere. Yes, it was on the internet. Yes, it was distributed without her consent. in such a heinous, hideous way. But I was like, I could not imagine. The main takeaway, I think, for me after reading this book was that she is fearfully and wonderfully made. She is just, the way that she believes in God, the way that she is rooted in God, and that she is God herself, impressed me beyond belief. The way that, I think another thing was that how much was taken from her. That is something that just really sat with me well after I read it, and I still keep thinking about it. Like, I could not stop talking about this book to my husband yesterday. I know he was tired of me talking, but when I get really passionate about something, I'm going to talk about it for like a whole hour, 2 hours. Like, it lives rent free in my mind, because art really, art and storytelling really do have the power to invoke conversation and to make you sort through and reflect. That makes you introspective. And this book definitely does that. But I was like, so much was taken from her. Her agency, her sexuality, her voice, her identity as a whole. And those are kind of encompassing, right? But her peace of mind, her freedom, her family, her sense of self, her financial well-being, her youth, her teenagehood, her womanhood, in a sense, her girlhood. She was with him for a long time. Like, I think upwards between 10 to 15 years, like from 13 to about 26, 27. That's a long time. And that's a very crucial period in anybody's life, boy or girl, woman or man. Like, your teenage years to almost 30. And your 20s are supposed to be very experimental. Your teens are supposed to be very experimental. You're supposed to fuck up. You're supposed to party. You're supposed to be outside. Like, you're really supposed to fuck up so you know what not to do when you hit your 30s and your 40s and you really come more into yourself. At least for me, trauma or not. But he took so much from her. And I was like, there was a line she put in here that was like, she'll never get it back. And I was like, she won't. And I was like, that's a very hard pill to swallow, and it's a very unsettling truth. It's an ugly truth. He took so much from her. And I think the other thing is how influential he was in breaking her down, breaking her support system down, and making her codependent on him. Even to after the fact that she got away from him, she was still in touch with him. And I was like, it definitely, actually, I don't want to say that. I was like, that makes sense to me, because you don't know anything else. He's made you completely, like, even weaning yourself off of him, you still want the drug, you still want the chase, you still want the effects, you want the buzz, the high, whatever you want to call it. It was really gut-wrenching. And the sentence structure, how the analogies that she uses, the metaphors that she uses to describe her feeling, her state of mind, the things that she went through, lying to her family, becoming someone she didn't recognize, becoming multiple versions to please him, to please and appease him. And I see that there was a lot of people pleasing. He constructed her into a people pleaser to feed his ego. And that was really, and another thing I think I thought about was like, what would I have done? How would I have responded if that was my daughter? And I think a lot of y'all need to ask yourselves that, like, if this was your daughter, if this was your friend, if this was your cousin, if this was your niece, how would you respond? Because a lot of y'all are supporting him, but it's like, this could have very easily been your family member. This could have very easily been someone you cared about. Or what if a girlfriend or ex-girlfriend or something that this happened to? Someone that you had some type of connection with. Just think about it, like, humanize her from that point of view. Take the public figure of it all out. Like, just, I think people don't tend to humanize victims or survivors. I don't want to call her a victim. But, and just how enmeshed in her family he was, and how much, I think access was another thing. Access is a theme I keep seeing in different art. Like I told you in that movie Lurker that I just watched. The video I did about some of those lawsuits, celebrity lawsuits, like Will Smith, Tyler Perry, was there Kirk Franklin, I think. I don't think I mentioned him, but there was another figure I feel like I mentioned. Access in on both ways, like on both ends of the street. He gave so much access to people. R. Kelly gave so much access to regular everyday people to him, but then she gave, or I don't want to say she, she had so much access to him and he had so much access to her. I think that's what I wanted to say. And I thought that that was very, and then I don't think I knew that she was around his family. Like, I don't think I knew that she was around his wife at the time. I don't think I knew she was around his kids. Like, it was so enmeshed. Enmeshment is the thing that I kept, enmeshment and like embedded. He was deeply embedded. He was like a serpent. He was weaving his way through that grass, and the grass was very tall, and no one thought to cut it. No one thought to part it. Like, I thought that that was very interesting. Hold on. I want to talk to you guys about enmeshment. I think I talked about this in the game video, the Shannon Sharp thing, and then I think I talked about this in the Ray J video about the mother wound. But I said, what is enmeshment? Enmeshment is a dysfunctional family or relationship dynamic characterized by blurred boundaries, which I definitely feel like was the case here. And lines can get crossed, and once you cross them, you can't uncross them. You can't uncheck them. You can't go backwards. You only move forward, and it just keeps ramping up. And that's kind of what I got from this book, where individuals become so overly involved and emotionally entangled that they lose their sense of autonomy. It involves a confusion of separateness, causing members to absorb each other's emotions, needs, and identities. And key characteristics: lack of boundaries, personal space, privacy, and individual thoughts are not respected. And I definitely saw that with R. Kelly and Roshona. Emotional entanglement: one person's mood immediately dictates the state of others, such as a child feeling responsible for a parent's happiness. And I definitely grew up with that feeling. But I definitely saw that a lot with her. Like, he would be in a mood and she would have to cater and succumb to that. And if he was in a bad mood, she unfortunately suffered abuse from that. And that must create a certain fight or flight in her nervous system. Like, that fear and that not knowing what's coming next, not knowing if I'm going to get hit. There was a scene, some of the scenes were so brutal that I had to stop reading. There was one scene where she talks about he spanked her so hard he drew blood. And I was like, where was her protection? Where was, and another thing, isolation. He isolated and destroyed this young woman, or this young girl, now a woman, like, and like conquered, like he conquered her in every sense of the way. And it was disturbing to read, because I was like, he really did a number on her. Like, and I'm like, is she genuinely okay? I pray to God she's gotten help. I believe she mentioned that she's going to therapy and she sought therapy, but I was like, that's going to take a long time for her to heal. That was like 10 to 15 years of abuse. It's going to probably take her just as long, if not her entire life, to heal from that. And I was like, I probably wouldn't trust very many people after going through something like that, because he violated her on every single level. It says loss of self, difficulty defining one's own needs, goals, or identity outside of the relationship. And that was very much her, because she was so busy catering to him because he made her that way. Over involvement. Parents may act as friends or treat children as confidants, leading to role reversals, sometimes called emotional incest, which I definitely think was happening there. Guilt and control. Guilt tripping is used to maintain closeness, and independence is often criticized or viewed as betrayal. Enmeshment is often rooted in family patterns, trauma, fear of abandonment, or a lack of self-esteem. It is commonly found in families with poor communication and high levels of anxiety. The long-term effects include difficulty making independent decisions, emotional dependency, and challenges in forming healthy separate relationships. Breaking free. Overcoming enmeshment involves establishing firm physical and emotional boundaries, seeking therapy, and developing an individual identity outside of the family or romantic unit. And it was just so much. I was like, she did not deserve this, like, at all. And it was interesting how it started. And I think another thing that was eye-opening to me was her aunt Sparkle. And again, I don't know Sparkle, I don't know Roshona, I don't know R. Kelly, but the way that Sparkle was like, Sparkle was her aunt. I think her aunt crossed the line in some ways too. Not exactly in the same manner that R. Kelly did. And I don't want to say in an abusive way, but I think she was like, Roshona was almost like her gatekeeper. Like, she was keeping secrets, but she was exposed to too much too soon. And what I want to say is, I think Roshona was adultified. I know she was adultified. I think she was definitely adultified by her aunt, and I think she was adultified by R. Kelly. Because there were scenes in the book where she's talking about how close she was with her aunt. Like, she was like her girlfriend. Like, I think you can be close with your niece as an aunt or vice versa, but I think that there still should be a line. There still should be an adult-child line. Like, I would never share some of the things that Rashona's aunt shared with her, with my niece, whether she was older and grown or not. Like, I have a cousin who I'm very close to, and she shares stuff with me, and her brother as well. But I would never tell them about me in that light. If you want to share very intimate things with me, I can hold space for you if you just want to talk, if you want to vent. But I'm not going to be sharing my exploits or things like that with you. Or I don't want to say exploits, but you know what I'm trying to say. Like, her aunt was sharing her sex life with her, telling her she was sleeping with R. Kelly, telling her what she was doing with other men, exposing really grown adult material to her when she was 12 or 13. And I don't think that that was appropriate. And I think that Rashona, I don't want to shit on her aunt too hard, but I think that almost was exploited in some way. And I think that it almost primed her to, in some sense, be groomed. And that probably sounds bad, and I don't mean for it to, but in a sense, I feel like it did. And I was like, she was definitely adultified. Like, she was treated as older than she really was, and that wasn't, especially when she started to develop. And what's interesting is how innocent, or on the surface, how innocent the relationship between Rashona and R. Kelly started. Like, it was like, okay, hey, we're hanging out in the studio. My aunt's his backup singer or background singer. We're just hanging out. We're kicking it. I have access to the celebrity. He's treating me and my family. He was treating her family to dinners. He was treating them to private basketball games, like just very premium, luxurious experiences. And I think that's very dangerous because it got them to drop their guard. It got them to trust him. He felt like one of the people, like becoming one of the people, like they say in Avatar. He felt like family. He felt like kin. There is no reason on God's green earth why a public figure should feel like family and should be so accessible to any of us. Yes, they're people. Yes, they're human, and they're going through things just like us. But I think, again, that line was so crossed, and it was just normal at first. And then it just kept ramping up. It was like he was putting her through these series of tests to see how much she would do for him and how much she would cater to him. His ego was being, was being stroked so much. But I don't want to make this just about him. What I just saw was such a sweet, innocent, beautiful soul be soiled, sullied. He just hurt her so bad, and it just broke my heart. But I wanted to talk about some of the writing. I also love how the chapters are, the chapter titles. I think there was one called Stress Fractures. I think there was another one, what was it called? There was some really good chapter titles, and I think that they were very intentional. That's another thing. The book is very intentional. The voice is intentional. The way she describes her trauma is intentional. And I love the fact that she stuck by her boundaries and her principles as she told her story, because there were some scenes where she's talking about some of the heinous shit he did to her. And she's like, some of it, I will never tell. It will never see the light of day. That's going to stay with me. And I was like, I love that, because she gives us a lot, but she doesn't give us everything. She's reserved in what she wants to give the reader, but she's open, she's authentic, she's raw, she surrenders, she's very vulnerable in telling her story, in telling her testimony, because this really is a testimony. That's what it read like. It read as very divine. It read as very devotional, despite the amount of trauma she had been put through and despite the ringer that she had been put through. And I was like, I couldn't imagine being in this situation. And for so long, she was she was faceless. She was anonymous. She was shrouded in obscurity and anonymity. It was like she was hidden in plain sight. And that broke me for her. People knew she was around. People knew she existed. But then it was like she didn't. And he almost kept her in a cage. That really broke me too. Because she's talking about scenes or instances where he was throwing parties and he kept her locked in the room. She couldn't use the bathroom. People had to bring her food. She couldn't go out without him knowing her every move. I was like, that is no way to live. It's so restricting. It was like she's in prison. It was like she's incarcerated. But she didn't deserve that. She should have been spreading her wings, and she should have been, flying. And I was like, probably when she got away, she probably didn't even know what to do. How to do. And she even talks about that. And she talks about her education even being stunted, because she was like, I was homeschooled. I didn't even know she was in a group as well. She was in a music group. She was a musician herself. She was a rapper. She was in a group with her cousins. They were touring and stuff. She was the real deal. She had a record label, a record deal. I was like, this is insane, when she was 11 or 12. I was like, so she was somebody, and he exploited that. He knew that she wanted to be or reach the level that he was at, and he exploited that. That's a different type of evil to me. You got to be an evil, sick son of a bitch to do some shit like that. To prey on the very thing, the dream that someone holds, and the calling over someone's life. And her family, a family full of musicians. I didn't know her dad played guitar. I think I might have heard that from Surviving R. Kelly because I watched it when it came out during the pandemic. But her dad was a guitarist for R. Kelly. Her aunt was his background singer. So they had connections. And her family is very well known in Chicago. So it was just like, he took so much from her. He splintered that family tree. It's like he took an axe and just kept whacking until there was just the stump left. Like, it was insane. Like, she had so much going for herself. Like, you see pre R. Kelly to post R. Kelly. It's two totally different people. And it's just like, he took all the things that she wanted for herself, all the goals, the hopes, the dreams, the aspirations. He took all of it. Like, she was like a shell of herself by the time he got done with her. It was like he was feasting on her. Like, her carcass. Her spirit was like a carcass. And he was just feasting, you know, like a cornucopia, or like, you know, like in the Flintstones when they would have like the rib cage of like the dinosaur or whatever that they ate. Like, it literally was like that. And it was just so gruesome to watch. And I remember reading it and wanting to stop her, wanting to protect her, wanting to reach out and get her away from him, and wanting to stop the train wreck. It's like I couldn't peel my eyes away, but it's like, damn, you already know what happens. And it's like, no one saw the writing on the wall. Like, it was too late. And then it broke my heart because I think her parents wanted to act, but were so afraid. Like, fear will make you do some crazy shit. But anyway, there's so much I have to say about this book. I feel like I'm all over the place. I probably should have taken notes. But I wanted to read you, I think it's almost like the last chapter. I think it's the chapter before last. Sorry, my butt hurts. Chapter 15, Grace Note. Actually, what made me read this, I saw a post about it on Facebook through one of my favorite bloggers. I think it was Tiani Kardashian or Monty J. Wilder, or it might have been Winnie Bangasi, I think, or Bangisi, I think is her last name. And then I was on YouTube doom scrolling one day, and I saw the interview she did with CBS, and I felt like there was so much more she wanted to say, but she was so poised, she was so graceful, she was so thoughtful, she was so intentional, so articulate. And at first I was like, okay, I'm gonna buy the book. And then when I was kind of lollygagging, I was like, I don't know if I'm ready for this journey, because I know it's gonna take me through it, but I was like, I want to hear what she has to say. So I wanted to read you guys this. She actually read this in part of this in her interview, because the interviewer, it was another Black woman, asked her to read part of it. But I wanted to read this to you because it was really beautifully written. That's what I'm saying. She's such a gifted storyteller. Like, I would actually see her, I could see her being an author and writing things outside of her life's work or her life story. So chapter 15, Grace Note. Dear beautiful soul, it's you. It's always been you. You were the girl with saucers for eyes, and the world was a buffet spread out in front of you. You were the girl who spit rhymes and played basketball with all you had. You loved your parents, and especially your baby brother. You loved going to church. You were a friend. Hold on one second. I just need to make it bigger. Rashona Landfair, don't believe yourself not to be good enough. There is no yardstick for good enough. You were a girl, a perfectly imperfect human being. You could not have lived your life in reverse. There was no way for you to know what you know now. So, if you don't remember anything else, remember that children don't protect themselves from danger. How could you have known there were sharks in the water where you swam? No one posted signs. When he nibbled at your toes, you didn't know he wanted to suck the marrow from your bones. It felt exciting at first, adultish. You didn't understand how something so wrong could feel so right. You were a girl being saddled with the wants and whims of an adult, a predator who made your injury your own fault. It wasn't. There's more. Hold on one second. And I may or may not be reading this in order. I tried to get it as best in order as I could. Hold on one second. Okay. You were not responsible for breaking up the family. You did not disrupt someone else's life or career. Your narrow shoulders could never bear the blame for what happened, no matter how many voices may have tried to convince you otherwise. You survived the years of being teased, mocked, and feeling like an outcast. You are healing. Don't be ashamed of your scars. You can cover them if you want to, but you don't have to hide them. You are not the worst thing that happened to you. You are so much more, fearfully and wonderfully made. Beauty for ashes is your new reality. You are a grown woman now, a woman older than your mother and aunt when you were a teenager. And now that you are here, you realize that you never allowed yourself to imagine. Hold on one second. I need to pull up the rest. I can only pull up so many at the time. Hold on. Pull up the next one. Oh no. think the last word, hold on. Oh, you know what? Sorry guys. I don't think I did the whole grace note, but I wanted to touch on another scene, like not another scene, another chapter, another part of the book. But it was just so, you could tell just like the Holy Spirit was covering her, was cloaking her, was guiding her through it. It just felt very divine, and it felt very holy or sacred to me. So then there's another part. I think this is the prologue? I think it is, where she's talking about her friend wanting to listen to this podcast or like sermon. And I think it was like victims of sexual assault. And there was a part that I wanted to read to you guys. So it says, my friend didn't push it, but she did share her sermon notes with me. Surprisingly, my long-winded friend had written down only 3 sentences. Restoration doesn't necessarily mean that something will be the same. When we are restored, we may be made new and better, but not the same as we were before. Our cracks are filled with gold. The last sentence made my eyes shiny with tears. Our cracks are filled with gold. Yes, I am scarred from the experiences I've shared and many more that I refuse to immortalize in the pages of this book. I have been broken and my wounds have spilled blood. I look different. Maybe I even sound different. Hold on one sec. Let me get the other part. And this was the part that really, I was like, oh my gosh, she's speaking to me, than I did before. Perhaps I would have been different than I am if these things had never happened to me. But because I am a child of God, my wounds have healed in the most beautiful and unexpected ways. I have scars of gold. And I was just like, that last sentence, I have scars of gold. I was like, that is so beautiful. And I feel like that applies to me. No, I have never went through something of this magnitude like her, but I have been through a lot of trauma and similar things to her. And I remember thinking that my scars, I thought something was wrong with me because I had so many scars. I thought I was damaged goods. And I could kind of relate to that feeling. I was picking up on that. And I think she even touches on that in the book. But it's not our fault. The trauma is not our fault. It's our job to heal from it. It's our job to work through it and learn how to cope with it and live with it. But it's not our fault that it happened in the first place. And I love that she takes back her agency and she takes ownership here. I don't know. There were so many beautiful parts of this book. I'm trying to read. There's another part where she talks about him being a predator. And I love the way that she put it because she calls him out directly. And she again, doesn't sugarcoat, but she doesn't, I don't know how to explain it. I just want to read it to you. There's different parts I'm going to read to you. So she's talking about her family and basically how he infiltrated her family. My family, which had been my place of identity, safety, and possibility, by first infiltrating it. This is why I know Robert is the villain in the story of my life. I thought that when I became his goddaughter, I had become a part of his family, and my family was happy to embrace his, whether in the body of Christ or as down-to-earth folks right here in Chicago. But we never became family to Robert. We were just gullible enough to believe he had become family to us. But how? With my family, Robert smelled blood, and like any good predator, he didn't pounce immediately. Sparkle was his first point of contact. In her, he saw a talented singer hungry for her own crack at fame. When he met her family, folks who were working musicians even further away from the limelight than she was, Robert knew he had hit the jackpot. I mean, there's so much to unpack there. I love the line that she says, with my family, he smelled blood, and like any good predator, he didn't pounce immediately. They wait. They're very calculated. And I love how she gives context to that and how she kind of breaks down. It's a system. It's a systematic thing, but then they also are enabled. They have an ecosystem of enablers. But it's also, predators are very smart. They're very manipulative. They're very cunning. So I want to finish that part. So it says, and I was his perfect prey, an ambitious and starstruck, 12-year-old girl who loved Jesus and knew how to obey adults. And predators are very smart. They pick people that they know they can prey on, that they know they can break, and that they know they can fundamentally change and shape to their liking and to their abuse and to their whims. My family was full of all the imperfections you can find in many families, but we were blind to our own weaknesses. We thought we were strong enough and loyal enough to withstand the power of a slick but beloved superstar. No shade to second chances in finding Jesus, but I doubt that Robert's marriage to Andrea and his public giving His publicly giving his life to Christ had convinced everyone that Robert was a 100% changed man. We thought that Robert was the answer to our collective prayer. In all honesty, I never asked God if he had sent Robert our way. I don't know what my other family members did. Instead, he was the opposite. He poisoned the blood we shared, straining the relationship between Mom and Sparkle. And her Aunt Sparkle is her mom's sister. So like he did so much damage to a lot of the interpersonal relationships, but also the roots of the family tree, the roots, the branches, the leaves. Like it's so devastating. It's like almost like a hurricane or a tornado. It just comes through and just devastates everything in its path and swallows up everything in its path. This line right here, I mean, I just want to give you some different examples. So here's another part she put. So she said, and relatable, that it was worse than an earworm. It was like giving an addict another hit of their poison of choice. So she's talking about how his music was still beloved by the Black community and how people were still supporting him and in turn, essentially enabling an abuser. That's why some of you still can't let go of his music. It just means too much to you. And I understand that music has a timelessness to it. And I know that I do remember his music being played in our house a lot. So I can't say anything. I don't care for it now. I don't listen to it now. I won't give him one fucking red cent, but I understand that music transports you to different times in your life and you don't want to let go of that. And I know for some of us, it's hard for us to separate the art from the artist, especially their behavior behind closed doors versus their public persona. That's very complex, you know? In reading this, I see how much ego he had too and how he knew he was untouchable. It kind of reminds me of Icarus. I don't know if you guys know that. Is it a Greek myth? I can't remember. It's a myth. But basically, Icarus had wings and he was flying, and his wings had wax on them. And he wasn't supposed to be flying too close to the sun, but he thought he was untouchable. He thought he was invincible. And he thought he was basically unchecked, the same as R. Kelly. And he flew too close and his wings melted and he fell from grace. And I think that's exactly what we see with him. We see with figures like P. Diddy and so many other powerful men, especially in the entertainment space. So she said, we can all like the music we want to like. I can't make anyone put down their R. Kelly crack pipe, but just know that you're not the only one with memories of those songs. I have memories of them too. He wrote several of them while he was being sexually intimate with me when I was a child. Robert would pause, sometimes to adjust the video camera that taped our sexual encounters, and sometimes to sing a piece of a new song idea into his recorder, which is also very sick to me. That's very twisted. And she also mentions when he was recording her, how he kind of just thrust it on her. He forced it on her. Like she didn't really have a choice. Like the theme that I kept getting was like he kept cornering her and kept raising those stakes. And that's a lot because you really don't have a voice to begin with because they've already taken it from you and then they've isolated you and then they become your support system. So it's very entangled. It's like a web. I think I explained this to my husband yesterday. It's very much a web and it's very so many offshoots and just different patterns and different designs and different intricacies and complexities. People are just like, oh, well, why didn't she leave? He had her brainwashed. And he was also abusing her physically. He was abusing her sexually. He was cutting her off from her family. He was cutting her off from any source of support. He had her basically confined to a room, but confined mentally. Do you know what it takes to get out of that type of environment? Have not lived in that type of space or have endured this type of experience. But when I was growing up, I felt imprisoned in my own house because the abuse and everything. You know, a lot of us in the Black community, when we're experiencing abuse, what happens in the house stays in the house. That's the mentality you carry. You sweep it under the rug. You don't tell anybody. You keep the shit to yourself. You hide the bruises. You adjust. You start to succumb to it. You don't have any agency and you're a kid. You can't get out of Dodge. It's not like you can go get an apartment. It's not like you can go get a job. You would be on the street. You know you don't have any other option. I used to run away all the time. Like literally, I ran away probably like upwards of like 10, 11, 12 times. Literally from when I was a kid all the way up until I was a teenager because it was just too much. It was too much at home. There was good times, yes, but the trauma outweighed the good, unfortunately, from my memory. Like, and my body remembers it. My mind remembers it, and I'm still sorting through it. I'm 31 years old. This shit happened to me when I was 10 or 15. It's probably going to be with me for the rest of my life, and I have to learn to live with it, and I have to learn how to manage it. It just is what it is, and it's the same case for this woman. Robert would pause, sometimes sometimes to adjust the video camera that taped our sexual encounters, and sometimes to sing a piece of a new song idea into his recorder. I was his source of inspiration, he said. My body was used and exploited by him to birth hit songs that became like crack to the R&B loving community for decades. And it was. I remember his music was just so popular. He could do no wrong. He was like a god to us. He was just like that fixture for us. Like, we didn't know anything else. We didn't have anybody like him. He was a guy from around the way who just really came up. And it's just so interesting, like how much we're willing to let bypass, and how much we protect abusers, and how much we ignore their shitty behavior, but also their long-standing behavior, because he's been doing this for 30-40 years. Same as Diddy. He went unchecked because we just turned a blind eye because, oh, he makes great music, he's making great contributions to society, or whatever the case may be. Me personally, I don't really care for his music like that. I don't think, like, it's catchy. Sure, there might be bops, but it's not anything for me to write home about, if I'm being real with you. I think there's way more talented artists out there. Again, not trying to shit on anybody, but that's just how I feel. But yeah, I don't know. There was so much that she went through, and she, like, I don't know. I'm just in awe of her, that she went through something so horrific, so horrifying, so terrifying. And even the way that he began to groom her into submission was very, again, it started off very slow, very subtle, starting to talk on the phone, starting to spend more time alone, starting to, he started to pleasure himself in front of her, starting to pleasure himself over the phone, trying to, basically get her to submit sexually and do whatever. And then what was really disturbing was she was talking about how he would make her have sex with other women, and she was questioning her sexuality, but also she didn't want to do it. And she said that a lot of the times these women would be blindfolded. And something else that was really sick to me was she said that he used to carry around the tapes with him. He had a whole gym bag full of tapes. That's sick as fuck, and people knew it existed. And she said he would also get her to recruit her friends, which is gut-wrenching, because those are your friends. These are probably people you grew up with, probably lived with, probably rode the bus with, probably, was talking about boys, on the basketball team with. Like, you have those intimate familial connections, and they're shattered. They're changed as you know it. Like, I couldn't imagine being like, hey, I have access to somebody that you would probably be fawning over, and hey, come do X, Y, and Z. Like, I just couldn't imagine. But he had her so trained, he had her so conditioned, I think is the biggest word. And just, it breaks my heart how she began to break away from her family, like break away in the sense of she couldn't really tell them what was going on with her, and she became a good enough actress. She became a convincing enough actress because he was coaching her. It was really sick. And the fact that all these handlers and all these people around him, his staff, his fellow musicians, all just turned a blind eye. Like, no one gave a fuck. But I give a fuck. But yeah, I don't know. It was so much to unpack. I think it was probably a book that, I think it was such a timely book. I think it's the perfect time. I also didn't know that she went up against him in court. She testified against him, but she didn't reveal her identity because her identity has been out for it's been out for 20-25 years. And I was just thinking about when the tape came out, how devastating that must have been, how it must have shattered her world, how, this attention, this media circus insulated her, and it probably made her more dependent on him. And he was even coaching her family. They literally had to go to the Caribbean and like sequester themselves there because the media was showing up at her parents' jobs, questioning them. And I was just like, oh my God. And she's talking about how he coached her to lie on the stand. He took so much, and I don't even think he realizes it. And the fact that he's demonized her, that he still sends people after her, that's sick as fuck to me. That's so sick. But what I want to say is that it's, like, again, like I said, it's a powerful book. It makes you reflect. It made me think about, what if I had a daughter? How I was at that age, at 12, 13, 14, how impressionable you can be, how you're coming into your body, how you're coming into your sexuality. It made me just want to give Rashona a hug. I would love to meet her, but I know she's probably very apprehensive, as she should be, about who she's connecting with. I would love her to do a book tour, but I know that's delusional. I really want to meet her. I really want to give her a hug. I believe her. I see her. I love her. I'm praying for her healing. I actually wrote a review on Goodreads, and I was like, I hope the rest of her life is the best of her life, and that this trauma doesn't continue to follow her, and that this traumatic period in her life, especially the tape and all the ensuing chaos before, during, and after, doesn't follow her around. Because I was like, her past is almost like a ghost. It's just haunting her. And I was like, how does she live? How does she find joy? And I know that she does, but I was like, that must be really hard. I don't know what that feels like. And it insulates you. It makes you an outcast, like she said. But I just see, I don't want to be so quick to say, oh, she's a strong Black woman. I do see a lot of strength. I do see a lot of will. I see a lot of determination. I see a lot of reclamation from her testimony. I see a lot of like divinity, I think. And it was very interesting to me that she was on trial, or not on trial, he was on trial, and she was testifying against R. Kelly when she had just had her baby and was like going through, giving testimonies and things like that while she was pregnant and things like that. I was like, that's so interesting, because I was like, the same thing happened with Cassie. Like, I was like, how come when women are like trying to move on and trying to heal, something from their past always brings them back? An abusive predator always brings them back. An abusive man, abusive powerful man at that, always brings them back, and they have to confront. And I was like, I wonder what it took for her to write this book and for her to really want to sit down and tell her story, because this is really traumatic. It's really triggering, and it requires a level of vulnerability and exposure. And I was like thinking to myself, when she hears his music or she sees certain things, she was talking about driving past certain places where, like, there's an instance where he brought her parents to a hotel to tell her parents he was in love with her. She was underage. He was 30 years old. She was 14. That's sick. That's sick. I would want to kill somebody. I told my husband, I said, if anyone ever did this to my daughter, I'm going to jail. I was like, you will catch me smiling in my mugshot, and I'll be like, yeah, I fucking did it. Remember Tasha's character from Why Did I Get Married, when she was like, boom, that would be me. I'll be smiling at mugshot. Like if it's up, then it's stuck. Like, I'm going to war behind my kid. Like, but I know it was a different time, and I know there's certain mentalities and behaviors and cultures that we have in the Black community that make us too scared to stand up, that make us too scared to speak out. It's very hard speaking out against a powerful public figure. But Rashona did it in such a classy, eloquent, articulate, intelligent, powerful way. Like, I think a lot of women are going to be moved by this book. And I love the fact that the foreword was written by Drew Dixon, who came out and said that Russell Simmons had raped her back in the day, or assaulted her back in the day, and she came forward, I think back in 2018, 2019, and then they had a documentary on the record, and it was very fucked up and disturbing, and I was like, I believe her. I was like, I don't know why I believe her. He gives me that. And I was like, the fact he ran away to Bali, I'm like, you're a bitch. You need to do the time. If you're going to be out here assaulting people and violating them, then you need to be underneath the jail. I said what I said. Like, I hope R. Kelly dies in jail. I said what I said. Like, I'm sorry. I believe that he violated every single last woman, but Drew Dixon wrote the foreword, and it was a very beautiful foreword. And something she said in the beginning was like, she's like, I'm calling in the cavalry. I need Black women and Black girls to show up and show the fuck out for this book. And I'm like, they do, but I'm like, I want more people to come forward if they're comfortable and if they're ready. But I know how much guts it takes. I know how much fear it honestly takes. But I know how much trust in God and trust in sharing your story it takes. And I couldn't imagine being in that situation. Like, I really seriously hope Rashona finds eternal joy. I'm so happy to hear from her. I'm so happy to hear her speaking out. And I'm so happy to hear her taking back her voice, taking back her power. Because when you're abused like that, it does something to you. I'm going to share something with you guys. I unfortunately was molested by somebody close to me within, they were like family basically. And it brought up a lot of feelings from that. And it made me think about like how I would want to parent my child to protect them from that. But it's like, you can do all you can, but people are going to prey. Predators are going to predate. You know what I'm saying? Like, predators are going to prey. But it brought up feelings, and it just it reminded me that you can move past your trauma. You'll never forget it. You can forgive it. You can heal from it. You can sort it out. Sometimes it might remain. It might linger in the background. It might kind of just be back there. But you can have a good quality of life. You can what am I trying to say? You can have a good future despite having a rocky beginning. And I think for so long, I felt like I couldn't. I felt like something was wrong with me. I didn't even see life past a certain point. Like, I'm shocked I'm 31, because like 17, 18-year-old me was like, I might be dead. I was considering unaliving myself. I thought maybe I was going to end up on the streets. I thought I was going to end up pregnant. Like, I thought every worst case scenario or worst case statistic, I thought that was going to be me. And you can really rise above it, but it takes so much work, and it takes so much failure. And I think a lot of women will see, again, I hate using this word, resilience, but a choice. She made a choice to speak out. She made a choice to heal. She made a choice to name her abuser. She made a choice to name her pain. And I want to implore other women to do that. and not to be afraid, which is easier said than done. Because again, I think Royce Reed said this best when she was talking about her baby daddy, Dwight Howard, and all the shit she was going through with him. She said, I'm an ant fighting an elephant, but ants can be mighty too. And I think that's where I kind of want to leave off this review. All in all, I would rate this book a 20 out of 10. Excellent storytelling, excellent excellent energy behind the book, excellent intention. She was very intentional when she wrote this book. I can't stress that enough. It is so addicting to read, but it's so disturbing at the same time. And there's going to be times where you need to pause and you might need to do some self-care or just stop at a scene and kind of come back, because you're like, how did he even see a child in that light? Like, there's something sick and twisted. Some wire is not crossed up there for you to view a child as in you want her to please you and you want to please her. And she didn't know what she didn't know. Like, she was really helpless, I think, in a lot of senses. But I'm so glad that she made peace with her past. I'm so glad she's been able to put her family back together in a way that's comfortable and conducive to her. She made peace with her parents. Her parents even backed her up and went to court and were testifying. Unfortunately, her dad passed away during COVID and right after she had her son. She's a mom. Like, I see her really hitting a new level, hitting a new plateau, and like hitting a new peak and a new season in her life. I think she's going to enter a season of healing, of redemption, of peace, of solace. And I just think she's an excellent storyteller, and I want to hear more from her. I pray for her safety. I pray for her family's safety. I pray that she has a life filled with longevity, but a life filled with happiness, and that her trauma no longer steals from her, because trauma is a thief. I know this review was all over the place. I don't really feel like I reviewed it in the traditional sense like I do with other book reviews, but I really, really wanted to touch on this because this was one that really sat with me. It really resonated with me. Also, being a Black woman who suffered from sexual abuse, but also a Black woman who has gone through so many traumatic things and struggled to find her voice and struggled to want to find the will to live at certain points in my life, and wanting to end it all and losing faith in God and losing trust in God and renewing and restoring that faith in God and faith in myself, but also forgiving yourself. I think that's the hardest thing to do when you're a victim of trauma, especially a woman, especially a Black woman, because you're it's ingrained in you and encoded in you, in your DNA, to protect your abuser, to cover up the abuse, to conceal it. But now a lot of us are coming forward and we're no longer being silent. I think silence is almost complicity, but we don't know any better. Silence is violence to me. And I love the fact that she's no longer being in the shadows. She's coming out into the forefront. And I hope God continues to cover her. I hope God continues to bless her. If you have not, please, please, please read this book, especially Black women and girls, especially women, but especially Black women and girls. And it kind of does help. It kind of tells you there's some signs that you can look out for if you ever find yourself in this situation. This could happen to anyone. It could have happened to me. It could have happened to anyone in my family. It could have happened to any of my Black girlfriends, any of my Black friends. Like, it's a very real thing, and we need to be more proactive about refusing to protect predators and ousting them and naming them and doing something about it and protecting the people that they abuse, especially the women, the girls, the boys, the children, because they're the most susceptible and they're the ones who suffer the most damage. But this was such a beautiful read. It was such a moving read. It was such a poignant read. And I love that she's dropping it at the top of the new year. I love that she's dropping it on Black History Month. And I see you, sis. I love you, sis. I'm so proud of you. I'm so happy for you. I will continue to keep you in your prayers. And I pray that more victims come forward, more survivors, come forward. I pray that more of them find their autonomy and find their happiness and get away from his clutches. In Jesus' name I pray. Amen. Love you guys. I'll see you in the next video. Bye.